Hello, Uganda. Good evening and welcome to the show On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. 2025 is already proving to be a politically heated year for Uganda. Politicians have begun to move around the country jostling for support, asking for the mandate to lead. Unfortunately, in most cases in Uganda, when we go for elections, there's some kind of turmoil. And in some cases, people die. What kind of election is 2026 going to be? As we speak, the update of the National Voters Register is underway, has been extended by 1 week. And tonight we are honored. My guest is the chairperson of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Justice Simon Byabakama Mugenyerali. Thank you for joining us. Your Honor, Justice Simon Mugenyi Byabakama, thank you so much for having honored our invitation. A warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Patrick. Good evening, viewers.
I know the Electoral Commission office works every day now, so every day, and some people think you work towards election time, but that's not the case. You work every day. But I want you to bring us to speed on what you're doing as we speak right now, and take us through what you have prepared, and perhaps the bottlenecks you find and how you're navigating them.
Thank you, Patrick. As you introduced or stated in your introductory remarks, currently we are carrying out what we call the update of the National Voters Register, which we started on the 20th of January this year. It was supposed to be concluded on 10th February, but due to a number of factors and the concerns of several stakeholders, we extended the program to the 17th of February, which is Monday next week. Essentially, the update of the voters register is to enable all Ugandan citizens who are 18 years or above, who have never registered as voters, to apply or to express their interest to become voters by going to the update centers, where we have set up our registration kits together with our personnel to request or to apply to become voters. Secondly, to also enable all those who want to transfer from one polling station to another to do that, provided the station you want to transfer to is in a parish where you reside currently or where you come from or you originate. And then thirdly, it is also to enable those who are already registered voters. Yes. If you voted in 2021, you are already on the National Voters Register. You don't have to register afresh. But during this time, you can also go to the update center to verify or ascertain whether your names or particulars are still on the National Voters Register at the polling station where you voted from and where you intend to vote from in 2026. So essentially, that's what it's all about.
All right, so of course you had probably a problem because you extended.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, first of all, the Electoral Commission is cautious and mindful of the issues or concerns raised by stakeholders regarding our work. And this particular instance, we started off the exercise with the inadequate kits, the registration kits, and even those few ones which are available are quite old, or they have worked for quite a while, since 2014, and therefore that tended to affect the pace of the registration process, where probably the number of voters registered per day at polling stations yes. was a bit slow. So towards the end, we realized, having conducted an assessment and an inspection of what was going on in the field, me and my colleagues, the commissioners, and other technical members of staff, we realized that there was a need for us to actually extend this period. But that there was still a number of voters who had not yet had opportunity to get registered.
What I don't understand, and I find very strange, Justice Simon Byabakama, is that the projected number of the people to increase on the voters register was there about 4 million. But by the time you extended, you had only 400,000. That's a failure.
No,
that's below the mark.
No, it's not. You see,
400,000 against 4 million?
First and foremost, you know, for you to be a voter, you must be a citizen. For you to qualify to be a voter and participate in Ugandan elections, you must be a citizen of Uganda. Secondly, the registration of citizens is a continuous process which is undertaken by NIRA. That's their mandate. Thirdly, the law says that in updating and maintaining our register, the voters register, the Electoral Commission has the discretion to utilize the data collected by NIRA in its registration of citizens so that we can access the data of those who are 18 years or above and then who have expressed their willingness to vote from a particular polling station. We can capture those or integrate those onto the National Voters Register. Thirdly, in last year in October-November 2024, NIRA conducted what they called or dubbed the mop-up exercise, where they registered a number of Ugandans. Now, all this data of Ugandan citizens who have expressed interest to be voters at polling station X or Y is incorporated in the National Voters Register. Now, when we went out, therefore, excuse me, when we went out to conduct the update exercise, which is mandatory under the law, that before the Electoral Commission holds or conducts an election, we must carry out an update of the register.
So is this you, Justice Byabakama,
yes,
trying to shift the blame from yourself to NIRA?
I'm not shifting the blame.
Yeah, but because what I'm questioning,
yes,
every time there would be a voters update, at least the number would increase more than how it has done now.
Now let me tell you.
So what explains that?
In 2021 general elections, the register had 18.1 something voters.
Million?
Yes, million voters, sorry, 18.1 million voters. As we talk presently, the number of voters is about 19.9 million. Now, all that increment has come from where? It has come from the continuous process of registration of citizens who have expressed interest to be voters. So that is one increment. However, when we are going to a general election, we must roll out a special program of enabling all those who have not yet been registered in the continuous process of registration by NIRA and also by the Electoral Commission. Now this is a special time for you to come up and express your interest and your willingness that you want to vote. So for me, I don't want to say there is a low voter turn-up. Registration of voters is a continuous process. It is not only taking place now in this update exercise, but because the law commands the Electoral Commission that before when you are going to have an election, be it a by-election or a general election, you must conduct an update of the National Voters Register. So it is mandatory.
But let me ask.
Yes. So this number you are talking about,
yes,
in fact, the number is 361 whom we have captured as new voters in the first phase before we extended, okay? And the number of transfers are about 290,000 something, okay? 361,000 voters, the new voters, then 290 something as the transfers. So for us, it's not that is a small number. No, 390 can change, can determine the results of an election.
Yeah, but I want to know 390, Justice Byabakama.
390,000.
What did you envision probably to get, really?
No, I think it's very difficult for you to envision anything because, one, voting is not mandatory. It is discretionary. It is an expression of your will.
So if they don't come, then that shows voter apathy.
For example, you cannot say, Patrick Kamara, you are a Ugandan of 18 years, you must go and vote. We can only say, look, it is your right to vote. It's like any right, the right to life and anything, a right to own property. You can choose not to own property, period. But it's your right under the Constitution to own property. So even voting is a right, but it's not a mandatory right. It's not an obligatory right. But we encourage citizens that, look, since the Constitution grants you the power, because the Constitution says in Article 1, all power belongs to the people, and the people shall express their will and consent on who should govern them through holding of regular, free and fair elections. So we only appeal to the citizens of Uganda, please come up and vote. That's why you find one of the phenomena we are grappling with is the low turn-up of voters. You find, for instance, 2021, despite the high number of voters, 18.1 million, but when you look at the presidential results, we had about between 10 and 11 million. So the question is, where were the other 7 million? Because they chose not to come out and vote.
There are so many things that could cause voter apathy. And some of them could think that you are not doing a good job, and their voice is not being heard, or their vote is being stolen. There could be many things. And by the way, there's a very serious allegation coming from the chief executive of the country. He's on record saying that the opposition stole 1 million votes in open. And how do you preside over an election where the president is going to accuse you of having made him lose 1 million votes? And by the way, how do you even steal? Being able to stay in office.
I don't think.
But he's on record.
I don't think he accused the commission of stealing or allowing his votes to be stolen.
But you are the one who was presiding over this election, and the president is on record saying he lost 1 million. Explain to us how that happened.
Now, we are already, by the way, if I may disclose this, we are in the process of investigating that report. So I don't want to go far into that.
Oh my God, you have not even started?
No, we have started. We have started. We have already started. We have set up our own investigative team as a commission to verify and ascertain these reports that 1 million votes were stolen or were whatever. But let me say this, by and large, that look, in every election, there are peculiar challenges, I think in any part of the world. But in the Ugandan context, every election has challenges. And for us, we draw lessons from the last election and say, where did we do things very well? And where were shortcomings? How do we improve on those? And I want to say that the Ugandan elections have been improving over time, that we address every emerging challenge or issue, and we design, if it is administrative measures, we design administrative measures to address that challenge. If it is illegal or requiring a reform, then the relevant entities have to come up with the relevant reforms in the law. But I have to say that the quest for a free and fair election in this country is the responsibility of every stakeholder.
Now let me tell you this, because you've just said 350,000 votes are enough to change the election or even the presidency. Do you understand the weight of the statement that was made by the president?
Yes, I do.
That he lost 1 million votes, I could say, under your watch. And are you not a lucky man to still have a job?
I think, as I said, yes, the president has made that statement. Now, as a commission, it is our responsibility to establish how this could have happened. First of all, did it happen? And secondly, how did it happen? So I think in due course, we should be able to carry out, as I said, we have already undertaken the process of verifying this. When we have completed the process and made our findings, we shall let you know. Don't worry.
Could it also be something good in it, that everybody who is before you thinks you're not a good man? So perhaps then you're good. Because the opposition is saying you're stealing, the president is saying they are stealing. So probably this is the nature of your work. But Explain to me how, because there are other voters registered for political parties. Those are not under your care. But when you look at the voter strength of the Yellow Book, the people who are supposed to be voters of NRM, just before you started the voter update exercise, by numerical strength, the NRM Yellow Book has more registered voters than the National Electoral Commission. Tell me, how does that happen?
That can happen. I mean, people can express themselves. People can say, for us, we support NRM, and therefore, let's go and register. Now, the issue is...
Oh, so you believe it?
I don't know, I've not looked at their register.
That the Yellow Book has more voters in the register than the National
if that's what they
Voters Register?
No, if that's what they say, that's what they have said. But for me, my concern, no, it's not at all. My concern is not the register of a political party. My concern,
That's why in my preamble,
yes,
I began by saying, I know this is not your area.
Yes.
But I just want you to compare.
Yes.
Because you also have a voters register.
Yes.
They have a voters register.
Yes.
One party,
yes,
their voters register,
yes,
it's almost bigger, yes, than the national register.
Granted.
Is this a miracle?
So for me, that's why I'm saying, Patrick, during the update process or period, let all those who are eligible voters, who want to participate in the national elections, come up and register. Now, if the number is less, it's not for the commission to go to NRM or any other party and say, how come for you, you have more numbers than we do? No, because our process is transparent, it is open, it is publicized, it is free, and every citizen who feels he wants to participate in the national elections is at liberty to come and register. And mind you, on polling day, any NRM will not come up and say, look, we have 18 million voters, Electoral Commission, how come for you your register is 15 million voters? No, because the issue is, was there any voter who was disenfranchised or who was not given an opportunity to come and register? So for me, my major focus therefore is, one, mobilize the Ugandans. If it is true, the NRM register has 20 million voters, 18 million voters, and the EC register has 15 or 18, but they are now 19. Can you please come up? The enthusiasm you revealed, exhibited when you are going to register as a supporter of NRM should be also reflected. And in any case, you do not know whether all those members of NRM are actually over 18 years and above. We do not know that.
But actually they explained it, that they started registering even the 16-year-olds,
exactly, thinking
that by the time it is for voting comes, yes, they'll have turned 18.
But for
which is exactly understandable.
And now for us, we don't register 16-year-olds.
Yes. That's one peculiar thing to look
yes,
at. But
yes,
you see, if they have 18 million voters in their book, and maybe National Unity Platform also could come and say we have 10 million. And FDC would also say we have 12 million. And then German say we have 5. And then UPC says we have 4.
Yes.
And then you'll find actually they have gone beyond even the number of the population of Uganda.
Yes.
That all the babies and whatever are on the registers of different countries. Yeah. I mean, those numbers.
What you should realize, Patrick,
yes,
is that in the registration of party supporters, it is possible, it is probable. I'm not saying it happens, but it's probable. Patrick can register as a supporter in this party, then he goes to the other party to register. Why? Because they do not, I don't think they have the mechanism of verifying, but Patrick, you're registered with NRM as a supporter. Now you are coming here to register as a supporter. How? But for us in EC, you can only register once.
Okay.
If you attempt to register the second time, we shall tell you, no, you're already a registered voter. You don't have to register again.
But if the NIRA document is a valid, robust, and authentic document that captures the biodata of a Ugandan,
yes,
where he was born, when he was born, and of course how old he is,
the fingerprints,
and the biometrics.
Yes.
Why would we again go into looking for the voters register? Can't that NIRA card, national ID, be enough for you? You turn up at the electoral, at the voting booth, you have your card, you're a Ugandan, you're of mature age,
Yes.
and you have a choice,
Yes.
and you don't have to go through this register.
You're right. Actually, when you look at the law, the law says that for you to participate in a number of things, to do a number of things, you must be a registered citizen and you must have a national ID. But the question is, if we are to implement that law now to the letter or to the full, is every eligible citizen registered by NIRA? I think it is an ongoing process. NIRA is continuing to register, and that's why I think last year they were supposed to undertake what is called the mass enrollment and card renewal exercise. They were only let down by the delayed procurement of the equipment, the new kits that are supposed to do that work. So going forward, if the country can achieve full and complete registration of eligible voters, I want to believe in the future for you to qualify to be identified, to be identified as a voter, you will have to produce that national ID. But there's one issue again. Whereas registration is mandatory, and I repeat, citizenship registration is mandatory, when it comes to expression of your will to expression of your will to vote, that is optional. That is a very fundamental statement.
It is,
because when you are registering, for example, when we are registering for these with the NIRA, many people go there to get national IDs. They're interested in securing or getting national IDs.
A national ID is a serious document in Uganda.
Absolutely. It's a serious document in Uganda. Now, when some people probably, when they ask them, oh, where do you want to vote from, say, no, I'm not interested in that. For me, all I want is a national ID. You know, in some countries, Patrick, voting is mandatory. In some countries, I know voting is mandatory. So if we, and I don't know whether we shall get in that direction.
So are you suggesting that as of now, we have old voters who perhaps are not even, do not have a national ID, but they are on the register?
No. So, because for you to get now on the National Voters Register, you must have been registered by NIRA as a citizen.
All right.
And you must have been given a NIN or a national ID. So for you to get on National Voters Register now,
so
the first criteria
everyone has a NIN number.
You must have a NIN number.
So I still do not understand when you have a NIN number that identifies you as a Ugandan.
Yes.
Identifies you where you were born. Identifies you how old you are.
Yes.
And they have your biometric data.
Yes.
Then why do we have to go and have an Electoral Commission register? Because somebody should just come with a national ID to the voting booth, and then they give you your ballot paper, you go and tick.
No, you see, you are talking of two different registers. You have the citizenship register, which is not necessarily a voter's register. And we have said some of these citizens, like the learners, whom NIRA registered while at school, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds. Now, under the law, that's not a voter. He's not yet a qualified voter.
But the national ID identifies you even by age.
Yes.
So,
fine.
You don't even have to come, you're 16.
Yeah, but you see, if you are registered by NIRA while you're a student of 16 years old, and you are given a NIN, a national ID, all right? Now, when we go to the NIRA data, the citizenship data, we cannot, if I may use the word, import you as a voter because you're not yet 18. So when you turn 18, during this process, you show up at the update center and say, look, I'm already registered. And in fact, actually, all those learners who are registered by NIRA, they are only showing up either with their national IDs or the NIN and say, NIRA has already confirmed you're a citizen. Now what is remaining is for you to give me, to allocate me to a polling station. And my polling station I prefer of my choice is this polling station where I reside, where I'm born. So the two are very different. The two are very different. Although the basic similarity or intersection is citizenship.
All right.
You cannot get on the National Voters Register if you're not a citizen.
Your Honor, Justice Simon Byabakama, we're going to take a break, and on the spot, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara, and my guest this evening is the chairperson of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Justice Simon Yabakama. And you know, I think you appeared before the parliamentary committee.
Absolutely.
Talking about the funding gap. And what scared me, colossal figure of almost 623 billion, if I remember, yes, billion, as a funding gap. And we are already now in the election period. Where is that money going to come from? From
the government. This is going to come from the government. And for me, I'm not really worried or alarmed.
This is more than half a trillion.
I know, I'm not worried or alarmed because, first of all, the Ugandan government is very much aware of the importance of an election, because that is commanded by the Constitution, that every 5 years general elections shall be held to elect a president, members of parliament, and the leaders of local government or local governments across the country. So I'm not worried by that. The challenges that are currently existing should not be a cause for alarm. I believe the government, as it has always done, will avail us the funds. And to remind you, the government of Uganda has always singularly funded elections in this country. They have never failed. They are not going to fail this time, I believe.
For many presidential petitions we have gone through, in most cases, the Supreme Court comes out with recommendations on how we could have our elections better, to reforms to happen. We're going to have another general election when we have not actually considered some of these recommendations that have been given to have reforms that can make the job better.
Were implemented or
by changing the name of the Electoral Commission?
No, not that one. One of the recommendations, I think, was on giving equal access of state media to all candidates, presidential candidates. That was one of the recommendations, that all presidential candidates should be accorded equal access to state-owned media. If, for example, Patrick Kamara is given 20 minutes, Yabakama should also be given 20 minutes, and so on and so forth. Then two, the other recommendation was that the period given to a petitioner challenging the presidential election should be increased, because the 10 days were considered to be very few. I think they were increased to about 15 and so on. So quite a number have been implemented or have been put in place. And I think I think there's no need for people to get alarmed and say, because everything that the Supreme Court recommended has not been put in motion or implemented, and therefore we cannot have a credible election. No.
Justice Yabakama, there has been a general cry from politicians on the other side of the aisle because they seem to see the army meddling into electoral process. They have accused many generals of getting into partisan politics. And that's a major concern. You are supposed to preside over an election that is fair and free without intimidation. When are we going to see some of these complaints ceasing to happen?
Well, you see, like any other law in the land, all citizens are required to comply with the law governing our conduct and whatever we do. Secondly, there are specific laws, or there are categories of people or public officers who are prohibited by the law from indulging in partisan politics and so on and so forth. So for me, the starting point is that let all of us be compliant with the law. If the law prohibits you from doing this kind of thing or conducting yourself in such a manner during the elections, do it. However, like, laws are there to be observed, but at times they are broken. And when a law is broken or not complied with, it is the duty of the citizens to report the individual who is breaching the law. So I think we need to put
a judge of the High Court.
Yes.
You understand these and complaints have been made and even reported.
Yes.
You know that.
Yes. Now the question is, what has been the outcome of those reports that were made to the relevant entities or authorities?
Zero. Because zero.
Yeah, why?
Because we have seen repeated actions.
Yes, the question is why. It's not the Electoral Commission, it's not the work of the Electoral Commission to police citizens in the way they conduct themselves during elections. There is a separate entity which has a mandate under the Constitution to do that. For us as the Electoral Commission, all we do, we issue the guidelines. We prepare the process.
If the police is also politicking,
yes.
If the police is politicking,
yes.
Then where do Ugandans go?
No, that's wrong, because the law says the police is there to maintain law and order.
Then what is wrong is what is the norm in Uganda?
So
what is wrong
I think
is now the norm.
The citizens should wake up and say, we want the law to be observed. And anybody who goes astray of the law should be dealt with in accordance with the law. And you have seen that, people doing that. You have seen people going to court, taking police officers, taking armed officers to the courts of law for not complying with the law. And I think that's the citizens' right. That
what we have observed
yes.
as citizens is that during election time, in that week towards the election or after, the country is more or less put on a war footing.
The question is, why do we allow that?
This is what we see. Yes. The country is put on a war footing. The military is out of the barracks, brandishing guns on the streets. Kampala becomes like a garrison city, and it doesn't give an environment of a free and fair election. In fact, in 2020, more than 50 people were gunned down in the streets of Kampala. Yeah. Blood on the streets of Kampala.
Absolutely. Now, let me say this. First of all, I don't work with the military.
Yes, you don't.
And I'm not privy to the instances or to the factors that inform the degree of deployment that they carry out at any given time. I don't. But what I know is that it's their duty to ensure that there is a peace and stability in the country. Now, if for any reason they feel that this peace and stability is under threat, I think they're entitled within in the execution of their mandate to take all measures to ensure that this peace is not jeopardized in any way. Okay. So I think as to why, but to me, Patrick, and this is the message the Commission is sending out to now, that I think as a country, we need to move away from this environment when we are going to have elections, when we're having elections, when the country is on tenterhooks, when the country is engulfed in an atmosphere of uncertainty, where the citizens of the people stock bags of beans, bags of posho, bags of, they stock up dry rations because they don't know what is going to emerge after the election. We don't need that really. So our message has been that if we want a free and fair, peaceful election, the choice is in our hands as Ugandans. And we want to say we can have a peaceful election, provided, and I repeat, provided each one of us keep in our lane, each one of us observe the law, each one of us are conscious of what is good for the country. We should ask ourselves, before I make this utterance, which is hinged on tribal or religious sentiments, is how does this endanger the country, or does it promote peace and harmony and tranquility in the country? So the choice is in the hands of Ugandans. And that's why I've been saying that, right, you can blame the cook, the Electoral Commission. Everything that goes wrong, Electoral Commission. As you have said, people were gunned down in November 2020, Electoral Commission. But wait a minute. Ask yourself, is the Electoral Commission the sole actor in an election? Not at all. We are the managers, granted. We are the organizers, period. But who are the candidates? Is it the Electoral Commission of which fronts candidates? Who are the supporters of the candidates? Are they workers of the Electoral Commission? Who carries out campaigns? Is it people of the Electoral Commission? who moves from one part of the country to the other is not people of the electorate. It is the supporters, it is the candidates and everybody. And therefore we say, if all these actors chose to act in accordance with the law, chose to put Uganda first before themselves, I can assure you, Patrick, we shall have a very peaceful election, which does not disrupt the lifeline of this country.
I know.
That's the economy.
I know those things you've talked about are not under your control.
Yes.
But if one would want to have the right mental fortitude, moral fortitude, to say, I am not going to preside over an election when blood is flowing on the streets of different cities of Uganda.
Yes.
If you're not going to seize your guns, stop killing Ugandans, and you want my signature to be on this kind of election, no, I'm hanging the boat. You put your house in order, then we can do this peacefully. But you have also a moral obligation to say, I don't want my name to be involved in a mess of this magnitude.
Look, Patrick, let's start with the Article 61, Clause 2. That's the commanding article or provision of the Constitution, which says the Electoral Commission shall hold general elections within this specific period. It is immovable. It is immovable. And that's why in 2021, despite the dangers and of COVID that it posed on the country, we nevertheless had to go ahead and hold an election because of Article 61, Clause 2.
Because you can have a constitutional crisis.
Yeah, absolutely. And secondly, all these factors you are describing, all these episodes you are describing, the issue is, are they avoidable or they are unavoidable? Certainly they are avoidable because they are perpetrated by human beings, people who stay with us, they live with us. So if for us made a collective resolve to say, look, I'm not going to use inciting, hateful rhetoric or language. I'm not going to use religion as a tool. I'm not going to use tribalism as a harbinger for chaos. Therefore, I'm going to be civil. I'm going to look at what is good for the country. I'm going to advocate for a peaceful election. I can assure that can happen. Now, what happened in November? What happened? People being gunned down. Nobody wants to preside over an election or take part in an election where there's bloodshed. That was most unfortunate. But you should look at the causes. Could it have been avoided? Yes, it could have been avoided. If only people were paying heed to what the Electoral Commission was saying. If we say, look, because of COVID and in light of the measures put in place of means of health, please, candidates, conduct yourselves in this manner. But others say, no, we are not going to do that. For us, we are going to. Now, I'm not justifying what happened.
And others say, we shall shoot you.
But I'm not justifying what happened. I'm not justifying what happened. But all we are saying that what happened in November could have been avoided. And going forward, we can avoid a repetition of some of these episodes, which have no room, have no value, add no value to the process of democracy. They don't add value at all.
I'm not a prophet of doom, but I see a dark cloud hanging on the shoulders of us, like the proverbial sword of Damocles. Because when you see words coming in from people of high repute,
yes,
what they spew scares us. Yes. Because at what point is somebody supposed to have campaign paraphernalia, declare themselves presidential candidates? Is it in order for a serving military four-star general to have campaign paraphernalia and say presidential candidate of 2026 or 2031 way before even the roadmap is given?
Again, I say, Patrick, they tell you, when they tell you, please drive on the left in Uganda, so you choose to drive on the right, you are breaking the law. Okay? Now the question is, what should be done with Patrick, who is deliberately and intentionally breaking the law? It should be dealt with in accordance with the law. But that's not the work of the Electoral Commission.
So you're working in a lawless jungle?
We're not in a lawless jungle.
But
the law prevails.
If somebody is breaking the law,
yes,
but no one is bringing him back into the correct path,
yes,
that kind of impunity, that kind of anarchy, that kind of lawlessness is a harbinger for trouble.
And we are saying that as we head for elections, because for me my concern is elections, as we head for elections, the Electoral Commission puts in place the guidelines which are premised on the electoral laws and defining how each candidate and how each actor or supporter is supposed to conduct themselves. Granted. Now, if therefore you are interested in a successful outcome of an election, which will leave the country peaceful, which will leave the country united, follow the law. If you don't follow the law, you should be dealt with by the relevant agencies or entities of the state. Period. To me, it is very simple. I don't see any problem.
As we speak right now, the opposition doyen of Ugandan politics,
yes,
who's been at it for more than 20 years, challenging President Museveni,
yes,
is languishing in jail. Yes. And yet, the Supreme Court of the land has declared the General Court Martial as a disciplinary committee of the UPDF that should not even have dealt with that matter.
Yes.
But the man is still in jail. I know this is not your area as well, but you are connected to it because you are mandated to preside over a free and fair election.
Is he
really at the back of your mind?
Yes.
What do you make of these things?
Is he a candidate? I would only comment if he was a candidate. He's not a candidate.
That's a very technical
my concern is a candidate. Is he a candidate? No. Has been arrested in connection with the electoral processes? I don't know. I've not been told that, at least. So I'm not at liberty, therefore, I'm not competent.
I'm going to comment. I normally don't concede. I normally don't concede. Yes. But I'm going to concede on your technical ground. Yes. Because he's not a candidate yet. Yeah. They become your people after they have been certified.
Absolutely.
But whereas you are the chairman Electoral Commission, you are also Ugandan and a citizen of this country, and you see these things happen, and this could also create a groundswell of some kind of resistance or conflict beginning now, even before you get candidates. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you this. Generally speaking, it is the duty of every Ugandan at whatever level to ensure, to promote harmony, togetherness, and peace in the country. It's the duty of every Ugandan. Secondly, I think if we want to have a peaceful, tranquil environment in our country, we need to talk and address all these issues.
Absolutely.
We need to talk and address all these issues. And to me, I don't see any problem. I have a firm belief. I know I don't see any problem that makes it difficult to address or to look at the issues that are in our midst right now. I don't see any problem. All it takes is the will and the resolution and the determination that, look, by doing this, I will be adding value to this beautiful country called Uganda in its quest to have socio-economic transformation, and also to nurture a democracy that ensures that we have peaceful elections that enable the people of Uganda to express their will and choose leaders of their choice without any fear or favor. So to me, I don't see any problem. And therefore, going forward, I want to say, as a commission, we are committed to doing everything possible to ensure that we have peaceful elections. Because, mind you, our country is like an island in a region which is full of turmoil. And honestly, we don't want that turmoil, which is in the neighboring countries, to be extended to our country or to erupt as well in our country. And the only people who can prevent that are Ugandans themselves. nobody else. The issues, the challenges that we have as a country, cannot be addressed by ourselves. And for us as a commission, that's why we are so transparent in our things. We publicize all our activities. We want the process to be inclusive. We want every Ugandan who loves his or her country to be part of this process. But we start by saying no to violence. We start by saying no to violent rhetoric or insightful language. We start by saying no to anything that disunites us, that creates an atmosphere of uncertainty, of fear, and then even Patrick, who wanted to invest his money in a certain project, he puts it on hold and he waits for the outcome of the election. Mind you, elections per se do not develop a country, do they?
They don't. And by the way, some people have a myopic thinking that contributing or serving your country is best done in elective politics. And that's a very wrong thing.
No, I don't think so.
I have seen many people being pushed. They say, you are so good, why don't you join politics? I'm like, but who told you the best thing that can happen, that every Ugandan whom you think is good should join elective politics? Yeah. I mean, we can be patriotic and good. As you serve in your courts of law, as you serve in your whatever,
business.
On this platform, we are serving Mother Uganda.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a tendency of saying, but we are missing this guy. I mean, but this guy is serving in that corner. Probably they don't get that sometimes. Sometimes we think very different. We think everything or everybody should get there.
Yeah.
But I think good people, experienced, skilled, commendable, should do different parts, and all of them are pushing Uganda forward.
Exactly.
So there was a proposition that prisoners, Ugandans in diaspora, could also be able to vote. I think he also came through many court rulings, right?
Yeah. There's a court decision.
There's a court decision on that. Shall we have that acted upon?
You know, Patrick and the listeners or viewers, we must recognize one thing. Whatever the Electoral Commission does in preparations and conducting elections is commanded by the provisions of the law, various laws. Constitution, the Electoral Commission Act, Presidential Elections Act, Parliamentary, local government, youth, women, elder persons, and so on and so forth. Now, the law defines where one votes from, how to register and to vote. And it says, for Patrick to be a voter, you must vote from your place, from a parish where you reside or you originate from. Now, Ugandans in the diaspora, yes, they are Ugandans. Under the current legal framework, they can vote from their places of origin in the country, if they so wish. But for as regards participating in elections from the countries where they reside currently, you need the necessary legal framework to be put in place to enable the commission.
So it's not enough to have a court ruling because it doesn't make it legal.
Exactly, because let me use this example, Patrick. If you go to court, all right, you are fighting over a piece of land or a piece of property with somebody, with Simon, and then court rules the case in your favor, and they give you what we call vacant possession. In other words, Patrick, that land or property is yours, go and take it over. The following day, Patrick, you don't go with the sticks and the pangas and the hoes and say, you know what, Simon, the court decreed yesterday that this is my land, so I've come to occupy it. Get out. The court has, no, you must follow the due process
of the law
of execution.
Okay.
All right? You may end up breaking the law in the process of thinking you are enforcing what the court gave. So even in this case, yes, the court ruled that diasporans, the Electoral Commission must make sure that people in diaspora and prisons take part in the next elections. But we have said, where is the legal framework that enables us to find them where they are. Can you go? You cannot take your domestic law, for example, from Uganda and apply it in the United States. You do not go to California and say, I have come to register Ugandans in their parishes, in the parishes they reside. I don't know whether even the parishes in those countries.
Okay. Justice Simon Byabakama, hold on to your point, sir, because we're going to take a break.
Yeah.
And on the spot, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. My guest tonight is Justice Simon Byabakama, the chairperson of the Independent Electoral Commission of Uganda. Another issue probably that we'll need to know is on the technology. Many sometimes have claimed technology is giving headache, the technology is probably not up to date. Your own equipment have taken some time, you having to go to new ones. This time around, what should we think is going to happen?
Well, the law says that the Electoral Commission may use technology in conducting elections. And indeed, we have been using technology, particularly on polling day, the biometric voter identification kits, which are deployed at every polling station.
Yes.
Well, and by and large, I think they are working well. In 2021, they worked well. The only challenge we had was some of the operators whom we deployed. I think they had issues with the PIN numbers and so on and so forth. But that technology is very useful in stamping out multiple voting, okay, in the sense that if you have been identified and you have voted once, it is difficult for you to come back and vote again. So we shall continue to employ technology or apply technology as and when we feel we are ready for that process. And secondly, the results are electronically transmitted from the district tally center to the national tally center. Those are the presidential elections results. Okay. So it's okay. Even in 2026, I want to assure the people we shall again use the same technology in the process of identifying voters and also the transmission of results.
And a question has just come on my phone. I think this gentleman, I know him. Amot Polite of Chamapuli, Kenyojo Town Council. You ask the Electoral Commission chairperson, Justice Byabakama, why does the Independent Electoral Commission take so long to resolve complaints registered before them after nominations? Is it intended to frustrate the loser from appealing against it?
No. First of all, using my experience in 2020, you know, the period between nomination and polling is short. For instance, in 2026, nominations for parliamentary candidates are going to take place on the 16th and 17th of September. It's after nominations have been conducted. Now, post-nomination complaints and petitions and disputes arise. They come in. And let me tell you, Patrick,
yes,
in 2020, we had over 300 petitions from all parts of the country. Now, remember, we sit as a quasi-court,
yes,
to entertain or to listen to those complaints. Now, at times we would leave even at 11 p.m. because we have been sitting the whole day. Parties have come in from all over the country. You cannot tell them to come back the following day. They have traveled from far. So, therefore, I don't want to believe that we take so long to resolve them. We resolve complaints as and when they come in. Mind you, they do not come in at the same time. And we try our level best to ensure that they are resolved as quickly as possible. And in any case, Patrick, remember, after nominations, the next important phase that takes place is printing of ballot papers. So if there is a complaint regarding a particular nomination for any position, we cannot print a ballot paper. until the complaint or the petition has been resolved. So it therefore is advantageous, beneficial for us as a commission to resolve these complaints expeditiously. If you delay, then you are going to delay printing ballot papers. Mind you, they are not printed in Uganda, they are printed outside the country. So if we delay to resolve the complaints, but the only issue that I've seen, at times the disputes in the intra-conflicts in the political parties regarding who is the correct flag bearer, who won the primary party elections, is also a factor. It also impacts on the resolution of these complaints. So, but I want to say, Mr. Is it polite?
Yes.
That, look, we endeavor to consider and determine these complaints as quickly as possible to allow smooth printing of ballot papers.
You know, I want to know what are most likely to be the challenges you're likely to encounter this time around, and perhaps the contingency plans.
The greatest challenge, let me tell you, Patrick, in any election is the conduct of the actors, of the stakeholders. That's a good challenge. When you are talking of violence, who perpetuates violence? When you are talking of inciting language, who does that? When you are talking of bribery of voters, who does that? When you are talking of disruption of polling stations, who does that? Those are the challenges we encounter as a commission. This issue of resources, yes, at times money may not come in when we expect it, but as I've said, ultimately we get the resources, we get the funds. The greatest drawback to a peaceful, credible, free and fair election is the conduct of the various actors. If we behaved civilly in accordance with the law, Patrick, our elections will be as smooth as anything. So, but you have bribery, you have violence, you have people inciting the youth, you know, you have people setting up militias and so on. You have people going to attack the supporters of this candidate. So it's the conduct of the people which defines the nature of the election we're going to have.
Because majority of Ugandans are losing hope in this project called Uganda.
Really?
Yes. And so people are resorting to different cocoons because they think Uganda, the way it is not working for them. It's not working for them.
Then that's alarming.
But I see that often. And that's why you will see people paying allegiance. These days we are lucky to have numerous kingdoms and what. And so I come from Toro and I'm a very proud Mtoro.
Yeah.
I think, no, Toro first. But really, it should be Uganda first. Why? We go there because we feel, is this Uganda working for me? Is this Uganda the real deal? And so as a nation, we are fragmented. If there was serious civic education, and there's serious, you know, patriotism, inculcating in people's spirit of patriotism, maybe we can hold Project Uganda together.
Absolutely.
But there's low civic education. There is some kind of electoral education which comes towards the end that you do. But how I wish there was a continuous civic engagement with the people.
I agree with you, Patrick. I agree with you entirely that for people to lose hope in their country, that's unfortunate. It means either they don't appreciate their country or they do not see the value in being a Ugandan. They do not see the numerous opportunities that this country has to offer that can make their lives better, or they are being fed deliberately on messages of hopelessness, of despair, frustration, no future, and so on and so forth. And indeed, unfortunately, some actors are fond of doing that, especially by luring our youth into acts of hopelessness, of despair, and so on. But if you, and indeed you have hit the nail on the head, that we need to engage in robust civic education. We need the Ugandans not only to emphasize rights, but we should also take stock of the obligations and duties we have to a country, in our country. Yes, now, for example, duties of a citizen under the Constitution. The Constitution says it shall be the duty of every citizen, one, to be patriotic and loyal to Uganda and promote its well-being. Be patriotic and loyal to Uganda, promote its well-being. When you are using hateful, inciting, tribal, expressing tribal sentiments, are you promoting the well-being of Uganda? Are you being patriotic to your country? Secondly, to engage in a gainful work for the good of that citizen. What is it you're doing that is good for you? What is it that benefits you? Is going to engage.
I have seen young men,
yes,
carrying fruits, pineapples, selling them along the streets in Wanda.
Yeah, I see them.
And maybe about 10 of them or more. And the guy says, give me 6,000.
Yeah.
That person has gone to Luwero or Kayunga, spent their time, you know, digging and tilling the land and bringing something that is not going to give them anything in return. Are you going to say that man hasn't worked?
You know,
has the government provided the markets for Ugandans to enjoy now that more than 70% are in agriculture?
You know, there is a saying, Patrick, that a journey of 1,000 miles
begins with a step.
With a step. And
but Ugandans have taken their steps.
Well, fine. And I want to encourage the people who are doing this kind of thing, please do not give up. If I wish all these successful men and women whom we have in this country could each give their story on how they started. Never despise humble beginnings. The only thing you have to do, be focused, be disciplined. Do not lose sight of your goal or your objective. When you get your first 100 shillings or 1 million, do not get excited to buy a very expensive phone and so on. But by and large, I want to say that our task as the Electoral Commission, now we have started going into tertiary institutions. We are engaging with the young people in schools, in universities. We are rallying them around the country called Uganda. Remember, there's no other country called Uganda. It is only one. Remember, these offices we are holding, I'm not going to be chairman permanently. No, the time will come when I leave. But you know what will never leave, or what will never cease, what will never be taken out from me? My citizenship. My right as a citizen will never be taken out from me. So our major focus therefore should be, what kind of Uganda do we want to have where I can enjoy my rights as a citizen? That should be our focus. So I want to say this. When it comes to
Ambassador Olaro Tunu, at one point his citizenship was taken away.
Yeah, but that was something else. That was something different.
I mean, it is possible. I have seen it in Uganda.
But he's here.
And we're not. And at that time, we're not talking about an ordinary Ugandan.
Didn't he come back?
Ugandan of the highest level.
I saw him living in Uganda.
Yes, but there was a point when his citizenship was.
I think there were issues.
So you can never be sure.
And I believe they must have been resolved. Maybe there's something he did. Maybe I don't want to go into that area. Okay. But one thing I know, that even when you have committed a crime, your citizenship is not taken away. Certain liberties may be taken away, you might be incarcerated and so on, you may be denied the right to move around as you wish, but you remain a citizen of this country. So, Ugandans, as we go for elections, that's why I say that Uganda is not defined by elections. What makes the country tick and enjoyable for us to live in and thrive is peace and stability, harmony and unity. So let us promote those. So when we come to elections, elections is just a means. It is, the elections are there to make sure that you exercise your right as a citizen to elect a leader or leaders of your choice, period. Thereafter, we continue with our normal businesses, with our normal activities. We can take our children to school, we generate income, we can improve on our livelihoods, we can improve on our communities. That's what defines the country. You look at, Patrick, you know of so many countries, by the way, where we even go to seek for either help and so on, or to work. They have never held elections, but their GDPs are up there. Have you ever wondered why?
I'm surprised the chairperson of the Electoral Commission is giving me that example.
Yeah, but if I'm saying,
you're the one giving me that example.
I'm not saying people should not exercise their right. You get me? But I'm saying elections should not be a matter of do or die. Elections should not be a matter of a do or die affair. Elections should not define the country that if this election does not take place like this, therefore the country will not be there.
Really, Justice? You have a
I am saying,
the one saying this?
I am saying our elections in this country have taken on an aura of a do or die affair. It is either me or nobody else. And in the process, we shed blood. And in the process, we cause destruction. Because of an election? Really? Is that the ultimate? I thought the ultimate is a peaceful, stable country that enables an environment of tranquility where Ugandans can go about their day activities they can move their merchandise from this part of the country to another. They can come to the markets and display their goods and people come and buy. They can go to their shops without. But if an election is going to disrupt that environment, then what is it worth?
This is what, when I have an opportunity to speak with my homeboys in Ngezi where I was born,
yes,
I'm telling you know what? They are going to come in big numbers this year, seeking the mandate to lead from you.
Yes.
Yes, listen to them.
Listen to them.
Yes, respect them.
Yes.
But please, this should not divide you. There's nothing in it.
Yes.
In it, there's nothing.
Yes.
Most of whatever is going to be talked about will be lies.
Yes.
Listen, respect, but remain united as people of the same village. Go and vote and keep quiet about it. I wish Ugandans could just do that. It's as simple as that.
Look, today,
because maybe Ugandans don't know this. I have a rare opportunity on this platform to meet people from different political shades. They may haggle here. They may try to quarrel. They may look like angry. But believe you me, 97% of the time they're just playing for the gallery. They are playing on your mind. Why? Because I see them here talk about business, talk about family, talk about investment, but before the camera, these guys look like the worst enemies. Don't be deceived. Don't die for them.
Absolutely. You have put it appropriately, Patrick, that look, many of these people who especially we are concerned about our young people, and that's why we are making every effort as a commission to engage with the youth, wherever they are. We want to tell them, look, you are better than what some people portray you to be. Yes, you might be unemployed. Yes, you might be having all these challenges and so on. But look, you do not involve in wrong in order to solve your problem. If anything, you aggravate or exacerbate your problem. So do not let these people play on your minds. Do not let them. They come and they pretend to understand your plight. Whereas they want to exploit your vulnerabilities to suit their ends, to suit their purposes. So we are telling the youth that look, you are better than what people think you are. You can only make yourself better by engaging in lawful acts, by doing things that are beneficial to you, however small they are. Every big thing starts small. So therefore, do not minimize what you are doing, and do not allow people during elections to come and form you into vigilante groups, to go and cause mayhem, to go and cause destruction, to go and confront security or law enforcement and so on. Because at the end of the day, what do you benefit from that? Nothing. Well, and that's why we are saying, as a country, we cannot afford, it is unacceptable that we take the country into a trajectory of uncertainty, of fear-mongering, of ethnic rhetoric, and so on and so forth, because those do not promote harmony. They do not promote an environment that enables us to do the things that can bring about socio-economic transformation in our country.
Let me bring out some of the comments I'm getting, but I'll spare you.
No, you speak all of them. Well, however dirty
you don't
they
need
are.
this.
No.
Let me pick if you want.
You can say it.
Yeah, because I also, at the end of the day, manage a platform.
Yeah.
There's a gentleman known by name by Nomujisha Godfrey. He says, Mr. Byabakama disappoints me every day when I see him. Mr. Byabakama, I see a dishonest man. Mr. Byabakama speaks with dishonesty. Why do you, Mr. Byabakama, want to disenfranchise over 5 million voters?
Yeah.
Why don't you open the voters register till November? People are busy far away working. You want them to move 500 kilometers to register. He will tell you it's not true, yet you can't transfer without an LC with no letter. You can imagine someone must move from Karamoja to Kasese to transfer his voter location. Mr. Byabakama wants an LC later for me to register as a voter, yet I have a national ID. Words of Nomujisha Godfrey. And listen, I want to be selective here. You have had 4 years to prepare for this election. Civic awareness, voter update is your mandate. We are not interested in stories, but action. Start civic awareness now to drive more confidence from the actors. Stop lamenting, take action. This man is only known by the name of Johnson.
Thank you. Can I respond?
Yes.
First of all, thank you. Is it Johnson?
Yeah, I just put one name, Johnson.
Johnson, thank you for raising those comments. For raising those comments. And it is my task to diffuse your impression that I'm a dishonest person. First and foremost, you have a national ID, okay? You have a national ID, yes. And you are saying I should be at liberty to go and vote from whoever I want to vote. But look, this is the arrangement of a polling station. A polling station has the register, the manual register of voters who vote at that polling station. Secondly, the polling station has the biometric voter identification kit, okay, or verification kit, with the voters in that district.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Now, if you are registered to vote in Karamoja, if in 2021 you registered to go in you registered to vote in Karamoja, or you work in Karamoja, and that's where you voted from. Okay? Now your home is in Kasese. In 2026, you go with your national ID and say, I'm a registered citizen, I'm a citizen, I voted in 2021 Karamoja, and I want to vote from this polling station. First, they will check in the register. Your name is not there of that polling station. Why? Because you do not indicate that you want to vote from this polling station. Secondly, they will check for your name in the biometric kit, the data of Kasese district. Your name will not be there. And for goodness sake, if your name is not on that register, that polling station, you will not vote from that polling station. That's why we advise the people that if you want to vote, to transfer your voting location from where you voted from 21 to this station, indicate so. Now, if the criteria is that you only vote from the place, your parish of residence or origin, who will confirm that you are indeed a resident in this parish? Is the chairperson LOC1.
Sure.
But if you come with your national ID, our polling process is not that you can vote from any part of the country. Because suppose in Patrick that were to happen, I would rush to Mpigi and vote at 10 a.m. I can rush to Wakiso and vote at 12 a.m. I will go to Masaka and vote at 3 p.m. So you'll have one individual voting from different locations. Do you want to allow that in a credible election?
You don't have a system that can red flag that?
No, our systems are not interlinked across the country. As I said, the data that we load on these kits are for that particular district. Okay? And secondly, the critical record at a polling station is the register, the manual register. And that's why when the voters come to the polling station,
So another critical issue, and this is one of my last questions to you this evening, is the time it's taken, for example, to announce the results, especially presidential. That the time is too long. It creates some tension.
It's too short.
No, it takes a lot of time.
Patrick, let me tell you, I think Uganda is the only country in the region, if not Africa, where the Electoral Commission is commanded or required to declare and publish or announce the outcome of the presidential elections within 48 hours. Look at our neighbors here. They take a week. I don't know whether I'm at liberty to say who the countries, but most countries in the region, they take a week. In fact, they ask, when we go for these conferences, they ask us, but you Ugandans, how do you do it? 48 hours?
With the analog system. Yeah. You must be miracle makers.
How do you do it? 48 hours.
Maybe
other countries, it takes...
Is it predetermined? It is predetermined.
Not at all. We gather all the results from all the polling stations. We must declare within 48 hours. And it is a wonder to many people how we achieve that.
Justice Simon Mugenyi Byabakama, I want to thank you so much for the time you've given us. What's going to be your concluding remark tonight?
My concluding remark, first of all, I want to thank NTV for always giving the Electoral Commission an opportunity to talk to the people. Secondly, I want to appeal to the people of Uganda. This is our country. It's for all of us. Let's not allow elections to divide us. Let us focus on the bigger picture. That we can only enjoy our country, we can only thrive and exist peacefully in a country that is peaceful, that is stable, that is tranquil. We may have differences, but the differences do not mean that the country should be torn asunder. There should be an opportunity for us to come together, address them for the good of ourselves, for the good of posterity. And I want to assure you, as the Electoral Commission, we are committed, working with every Ugandan, we are committed to delivering a peaceful, free, and fair election. Please, let's work for that.
And on a light note, maybe you can tell us what the trick is. in your personality.
Yeah.
When we imagine the weight of the nation in times like these is on your shoulders.
Yes.
But you keep cool, calm, and collected, almost like a 30-year-old.
I don't know, that is a compliment. Well, first and foremost, put your trust in God. Secondly, take life easy. Thirdly,
have enough shock absorbers.
Have enough shock absorbers. You have said this.
Thank you very much. The chairperson of the Independent Electoral Commission, Justice Simon Mugenyi Byabakama, has been on the show. Ugandans, you have a responsibility and a duty to participate, and your civic duty to participate in election. Do it peacefully. Let's avoid chaos, because at the end of the day, if you can avoid the tumultuous past, Ugandans, we can be a better country. We can do this, Uganda. Good night and God bless Uganda.